It's the Security Weekly News, all new and improved on high energy. It is episode 413, which just ironically adds up to 8. It's Friday the 13th, which adds up to 4. 8 and 4 is 12, and I don't know, 1 and 2 is 3, and that's a prime number, and that tells us something. You know, some people think Friday the 13th is unlucky, but, I dare the gods of fate to bring it. I mean, bring it. Anyone? Any gods of fate? Anyone? Bueller? No? Okay. We've got Leon Flammes, or Lion Flames, or whatever you want to call it. Lazarus. What's up? Scattered Spider. Hadooken. Finish him. Dead People. Aaran Leyland, and more on the Security Weekly News.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
It's the show that keeps you up to date on the latest security news twice a week. Your trusted source for accurate security information and expert analysis. It's time for the Security Weekly News. ThreatLocker implements a least privileged approach to cybersecurity, blocking every executable unless specifically authorized by your team. This methodology mitigates ransomware, supply chain attacks, zero-day exploits, and ensures 24/7, 365.25 protection for your organization. To learn more about how ThreatLocker can help prevent known and unknown threats in your digital environment, safeguard your data and operations from threat actors, and align your organization with respected compliance frameworks, visit securityweekly.com/threatlocker. In 2024, the future of identity, security, and digital transformation converges at Octane, hosted by Okta. On October 15th through 17th, join the brightest minds in tech and business in Las Vegas or online as they explore groundbreaking innovations and unveil the latest Okta solutions to keep your organization secure, connected, and ahead of the curve. Whether you're a developer, an IT or security leader, or a visionary, Octane is your gateway to transforming tomorrow, today. Security Weekly listeners only need to pay $100 for your full conference pass for Octane by using the discount code OKTNSC24 at securityweekly.com/Octane2024. And you can stream the event live on okta.com/Octane.
Created in 2005 and hosted by security industry veterans, Paul Security Weekly is your source for in-depth coverage of the latest vulnerabilities, exploits, and security research. Our weekly security news discussion dives deep into the security issues we face today and potential solutions in a fun and lively atmosphere. Each week, we bring on guests from the security community to learn about their journey and discuss topics relevant to their work and research. You can also subscribe to our show by visiting securityweekly.com/subscribe or look for Paul Security Weekly in your favorite podcast catcher. We've recorded a ton of content over the years, so we created Spotify playlists featuring some of our favorite episodes, including interviews with Marcus Random, John McAfee, and Chris Roberts, to name a few. You can find them at securityweekly.com/starter packs.
All right, from the island of Elba, it's the Security Weekly News. I'm Doug White. Hit that like and subscribe button and leave a comment, or I will have to summon said gods of fate from the unspeakable voids to fill your domicile with unusual alley smells of the 1970s in New York City. Or we have a candle, if you'd rather. We don't need any god summoning stuff. All right, Lazarus. Insert back from the dead joke here. Oh, sorry. Lazarus, A New Dawn. Lazarus, Rise of the Slightly Decayed. Oh, I got it. Lazarus 2, Electric Boogaloo. That might work. Or just Lazarus 2. That's kind of like ironic, right? Netflix, I think we got one now, okay? Lazarus 2. Yeah, we don't ever have a Lazarus 1, just Lazarus 2. Yeah, call me. We'll talk. Anyway, well, Lazarus, our favorite APT, is back with a new ploy. Everyone's favorite undead North Korean hackers are using a password management lure that has malware in it, among other things. Reversing Labs have been following this campaign for about a year, and they said that the project is now being hosted on GitHub. Potential victims find a README file with instructions on how to complete a coding test challenge for password management. Oh my. This project directs the Python programmers who are interested in this to find a bug in the password manager app and then submit a fix with a screenshot to prove that they fixed it. Okay, that lure would definitely work on me. I mean, if I saw that, I would just be like, oh yeah, I got to try this. I mean, can I do this? Can I debug this and it's got a time limit on it. The README tells you to start this challenge by running a password manager app called passwordmanager.py, and then start looking for the errors and debugging as quickly as you can. So it's a Star Trek attack. And now somebody asked me if I would explain. They said they heard me say Star Trek attack and StarTrek.com and all this stuff more than once, and asked me if I would explain what it was. So it was an old gag on a bulletin board system that someone wrote and posted labeled as cool Star Trek game. And the file was just called StarTrek.com. Runs on IBM PC. Now, when you sweatily downloaded it and installed it on a 5.25-inch floppy disk and then ran it, after all that clunking noise that thing made, it posted on your screen to go where no man has gone before. Then it put up a message that said hard drive erasing in progress. And then it said, your drive is clean. Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life here. Now, it didn't actually wipe the hard drive. It just acted like it wiped the hard drive, which scared people, I guess. And anyway, but this one is bad. And when you run it, it executes an obfuscated module hidden in the Piperclip and Pyrebase libraries. Then that contacts the command and control and just waits for somebody to push commands to it. I mean, it's literally a reverse shell. Now, the requirements of the challenge are that you only have 15 minutes to come up with the fix and then 10 minutes to send the results in. Sound like a con yet? I mean, this is nefarious, Dr. Fibes. So you might want to put some advisories out about this, because this is a new tactic for them. And they usually just do social engineering, but this is a different kind of social engineering, right? This is, I call this passive social engineering, and it works really, really well with certain groups of people. So be careful. Two flaws in WhatsUp Gold, which sounds like a 1970s sitcom. Two aging dowagers bring in two hip young roommates. Comedy ensues. Or maybe arsenic and old lace ensues. We all know how that turned out. But anyway, WhatsUp Gold has two flaws that are being exploited since the 30th of August. The network monitoring, this is a very commonly used network monitoring tool. You've probably used it. I've used it. You probably know somebody who's used it. It's been around a long, long time. Now, both of these flaws are SQL injection vulnerabilities that will allow the attacker to retrieve encrypted passwords off the system without authentication, which would be, as we say in the industry, bad. Progress Software released updates. They make WhatsUp Gold. Progress Software released updates on the 16th of August and added instructions on how to detect if you'd been compromised, or indicators of compromise, if I wrote that more intelligently. But many people haven't updated, apparently, and it is now being exploited in the wild. The flaws were originally reported to Zero Day Initiative on the 22nd of May, and a proof of concept was published by the exposer on the 30th of August. And of course, immediately people started looking for WhatsUp Gold instances that they could exploit. The article has all the details on all these flaws if you're interested, but for our purposes, if you're using WhatsUp Gold or you have any WhatsUp Gold boxes anywhere in your environment, you probably need to take action on this ASAP. Eclectic IQ said that an APT called Scattered Spider, which we've heard about many times in the past, has been working to break into corporate cloud instances to steal data and ransom the data back. I mean, that's the current standard for ransomware, right? Everybody has backups now after we said it 10,000 times. So now you have them, right? But now the ransom people have gone, okay, well, they've got backups. They'll just laugh in our face. So what we need to do is threaten them with, releasing all this corporate data. The most common targets of Scattered Spider in this are financial and insurance sectors, which are big dollar targets, right? Those are big, fat, juicy ones. Scattered Spider is a crew that's famous for doing Caesar's Palace and MGM back in 2023. They're believed to be based in the US and the UK. Now, they had traditionally used phone-based social engineering attacks targeting service desks for IT, identity administrators, and people like that. But in this case, listen to this. This is very similar to the other story. Scattered Spider was using searches of GitHub to find cloud access tokens accidentally left in source code by devs. So again, this is passive. I'm going to call this one passive aggressive social engineering. So instead of calling you, they're just looking at your GitHub and going, wow, look at this. They put the codes, they put these tokens in. Now, you don't have any access tokens in GitHubs right now, do you? I know you don't. No way. Are you worried yet? Go and look. I'll wait. We'll be here. Okay. But Scattered Spider has also, of course, been purchasing credentials from other groups trying to find admin and executive logins to cloud-based services. They've been targeting AWS, Intral ID, or Intral ID. Sorry, Microsoft. Intra ID, Okta, ServiceNow, VMware Workspace ONE, etc. I mean, and the cloud means that all your stuff is there in a place where everybody has potential access to it, right? It's kind of like a vending machine in a subway station. You think you protected it by requiring people to put 50 cents in, but there's always that guy with that, like little kid that can reach up. Yeah, that, those guys. But so you need to be, if you're using the cloud, and you probably are, multi-factor. Never stop talking to your user about phishing, because it's not going to help if the user, gives the multi-factor code out in a text. And by Odin's eye, make sure you don't put access tokens on GitHub or anywhere else, and start scanning for that stuff, because you may have devs that are doing that and they aren't even thinking about it. They just put up a public GitHub because they're like, oh, this is cool, we'll just share it. And then, there's public access tokens that are used elsewhere, or private access tokens. An attacker that has not been named, the unnamed one, is exploiting, and it's like I'm channeling H.P. Lovecraft today or something. An attacker that hasn't been named is exploiting weak passwords to compromise Oracle WebLogic servers to deploy a new malware called Hadoken. Hadoken? I don't remember how to say it, but this is per Aqua. And Aqua said they've seen a few dozen attacks already over the past couple of weeks. Now, if you're not familiar, WebLogic is a platform that runs apps at enterprise scale, so it manages things across large numbers of users. And it is used in financial services, e-commerce, other businesses. Some of you may be using it as well. It's famous for having vulnerabilities. It's kind of like Ben D. It's got those vulnerabilities in there, and it is a common target. But this latest attack is exploiting something we all know better: weak passwords. Now, that will probably migrate on to buying passwords of admin and executive type accounts, just like everybody else is doing, because there's so many of them for sale now. And so, you've got to force those users to change their passwords. You've got to use strong passwords, and, you need to be pen testing your password base. But once this thing exploits a weak password, it runs code, which is a shell script called C, and another one it's a Python script called Y, which both attempt to download the Hadoken. And Hadoken's from Street Fighter. If you've seen Paul's Security Weekly, it's sitting in the background back there. But it contains a crypto miner and tsunami malware, which is a botnet and backdoor that basically is another reverse shell. So these are really the worst things that can happen to you. Really, it uses a cron job to maintain its presence. So it actually uses multiple cron jobs. So this is like one of my kind of tactics of just creating a whole bunch of cron jobs that have weird names that sound important and you don't want to mess with them. I got sent to the counselor once in high school because somebody overheard me say, I did a cron job at work last night. Yeah, might be a good time to pen test those passwords, all right? Get that old shadow file and password file out and just see if you can crack those babies and find out how many people are using Gandalf as their password, or Flagnab, no, Fladnag. That's Gandalf backwards. Yeah, we found a lot of those. I know you're aware of this, but when you get the chance, press your local school board and tell them, hey, stop worrying about banning books and start worrying about ransomware. Really, I mean, I put this story in because I think this is something we all sort of owe to our communities, is to both, volunteer, to give advice, and also to press them as constituents. Some schools in the US and the UK this week were closed, which didn't allow school to start for the fall term. Guess why? Ransomware. They didn't say what it was, but they said we're not saying, but it sure sounds like ransomware. Seattle Highline Public Schools and Biggin Hill, Biggin Hill was a famous air base in the Battle of Britain that's very near to Bromley, and which I know very well. Bromley Beckenham is a place I've been quite a few times. But Seattle Highline School is a huge district. They have 34 schools and 2,000 staff members. That's not teachers. That's I think but that's a lot. That's a big school district. So it's not a minor thing. I don't think Biggin Hill is nearly that big, but I think it's just like one school. But the schools in Seattle were expected to reopen on the 12th of September, which was yesterday, and some of them are reopening on the 16th. The Charles Darwin School in Biggin Hill, I think it said they have 1,320 students. So not, that's more like a single school, but it was closed from the 9th to the 11th due to having to scorch the earth and reload all their stuff. Black Suit, which is a Conti division, claimed that the attack. So, think about, read this. There's not a lot of details here, but read this and think about, your kids go to school, my kids go to school. What's going to happen to those schools when they get compromised, both from a, exfiltration situation as well as just being shut down? Try to get the politicians to put more money for cybersecurity in these school districts, because they're huge targets and they have little to no budgets for cyber, or they have some guy named Carl who has an Apple IIe at home who mostly teaches English, history, and health, but has also been assigned to be in charge of the network security when he's not on bus duty. I actually I did a consulting job for this once, and that was literally what the person was. But tough jobs out there if you're working in those districts, and they can always seem to find more money for the golf team. Isn't that strange? Yeah. Mustang Panda is a Chinese state-sponsored spy group. Damn it, Jim. I want a code name. Vicious Melon, Blobby Sunrise. I don't know. Drunk Bastard. Any of those would be okay. But anyway, an exploit in VS Code, which is the Microsoft free source code editing tool, which is the most popular one. If you look at the Stack Overflow survey, 70+% of the respondents said that they use VS Code over Visual Studio, and with good reason. I mean, VS Code is actually pretty nice. Visual Studio is hard to deal with, in my opinion. Visual Studio only had 28% of the respondents using it, and an attacker can use this feature that they added back in last year called Tunnel to get into the target environment. Hang on, I got to shut down VS. Okay, VS Code's usually open on one of my screens somewhere, and but I mean, I'm not that worried about this particular thing because I have egress and ingress firewalling on my network, so nothing can go out, nothing can come in, and it's running in a sandbox anyway. But Palo Alto Unit 42 said that Mustang Panda uses this feature to attack a government entity in Southeast Asia. So let's find out how. VS Code Tunnel was introduced in July of 2023, and it allows users to share their VS Code environments on the open web. And I don't do a lot of that. I'm a solo coder, but it only requires authentication through GitHub. So if it's logged into GitHub, boom, they can share code. So an attacker who had your GitHub credentials, I don't know how they would ever get those, could actually get into your system through this. And the worst news is that someone can remotely install a portable version of VS Code on a machine, which basically creates a reverse shell by executing code.exe space tunnel at the command line. So they could essentially run commands from a GitHub repository remotely on your machine to do anything. StarTrek.com. So I'm going back to using BSD without a network stack. I mean, now as far as your org on this, you may want to think about how you share work and how your devs are sharing things. And also, are those things on GitHub, and do they have access tokens and so forth? But how do you control all that? And it's definitely something you might want to think about. Of course, if one of your devs downloads this thing because it's called, Star Trek game, and they run it willingly, then, I guess all bets are off. The tunnel thing is not a vulnerability, mind you. It is a feature, and it's probably a useful feature, but keep talking about it. Don't check your tech. This story made me laugh, actually, because I was once on a plane so small that they said my laptop would not fit in the overhead bin, which was kind of true. The overhead bin was sort of like a shelf. And I was told I would either have to check my laptop or get off the plane. That was my two options. And they would not allow me to hold my laptop in my lap during takeoff because, security. Although actually that is because, it would go flying around the cabin if they suddenly had to go sideways or something and probably behead someone. But it would be, an interesting headline. But anyway, most modern tech has lithium-ion batteries or Li-ion batteries. And guess what? Those things can burst into flames. Now, the reason they do this is because if they get too hot. So if they overheat, it's like, that's what you want in a laptop. But, when this thing is out of your control, it can be in pretty harsh conditions underneath the aircraft. Or sitting out on the tarmac or whatever. But I got news for you. When I checked that laptop, well, needless to say, they smashed it to pieces. Literally, I think they put it on the ground and dropped something on it because the screen was completely destroyed. And then they refused to repair it or reimburse me since, I don't know, sunspots or something when I was trying to get through to them. I finally had to file an insurance claim. But it's an airline. They're not known for being benevolent toward their passengers. But remember, when you travel with lithium-ion batteries, and they're in a lot of things, not just laptops, they're in cell phones, they can be in vapes, they can be in, I don't know, hearing aids, all kinds of stuff have lithium-ion batteries. And the average traveler, according to this article, has 4 items of tech that has a lithium-ion battery in it when they travel, except for my friend Russ, who is about 26, and my friend John, who had the entire contents of a Radio Shack in his bag that time in Denpasar. But hey, if you needed a cable, let me tell you, John, have you got a cable for like a Sharp flip phone from 1980 story? And he's like, yeah, I think so over here. But anyway, I think the reason I put this in here, though, is an advisory for your people. I don't want to be on that flight where somebody's vape pen bursts into flames down in the hold, next to that 2-liter bottle of old Cotswold you bought in Bromley. Yeah, that. There once was a man from Glenmorangie who tried to... Wait, that was as far as I got. I couldn't rhyme Morangi with anything. But please welcome Aaran Leyland. Hi, Aaron.
What rhymes with orange?
Orange, I don't know.
Who knows? Who cares?
You have to do it in blank verse. Just, sex.
That's okay. That threw me as well. Okay, let's talk about Pokemon Go. Okay, so Pokemon Go, according to this, was an intelligence tool, claims Belarus military official. So a defense military official from Belarus has claimed augmented reality game Pokemon Go was a tool of Western intelligence agencies. So Alexandra Ilanova, head of Department of Ideological Work at Belarus's Defense Department, apparently this week appeared on a local TV talk show and was reportedly asked about the most likely targets for spies. Okay. Ideological work sounds like a great job, but after the orange intermission, I don't think I have time for all the jokes, especially the jokes about appear in a country that's become a joke because of a joke leader. Anyway, okay. Ilanova, which I obviously Googled how to pronounce that and probably ruined, but hey ho, responded that at the peak of Pokemon Go's popularity, the location where most of the digital monsters could be found was on the grounds of a military runway, because that's what we care about. So at the peak of the game's popularity, the virtual creatures could, of course, be found just about everywhere, like literally everywhere. I remember climbing over a barbed wire fence to get into a little field just so I could collect some stuff. But anyway, so we do know that Pokemon Go was targeted by scammers and had privacy problems, but the idea of the game as an intelligence tool really has been largely debunked. Although, just like Tetris being released by the Russians to bring down the productivity of the West, I actually believe that one. So there you go. So the article tells us that the New York Times reported in 2018, Russian labeled the game a tool of the CIA. Indonesia, Kuwait, and Egypt, all their friendly nations that don't really spy on everybody, including all their citizens. But anyway, they got angry about the game, and apparently it's still officially banned in China. The article goes on about some intrepid players are known to use it there, which is just a whole lot of fun, rocking hard, playing Poke Go in a country that has no issues locking you underground forever without your phone and no Pokeballs. So anyway, the developer insisted it observes local laws wherever Pokemon hunters choose to pursue the Poke Sphere and is denied all accusations. It shares user information so no one can get a peek at you while they play. Nonetheless, military officials in several nations have warned that as the game uses users' location data, members of the military should exercise caution lest they leak strategically important, significant information. But as we know, Pokemon Go is not alone in creating risk regarding users' locations. Exercise app Strava in 2018 set the world on fire with that. And you probably have to Google this because I'm not going to talk about it now, but Grindr and Ukraine and Russia, bombs falling from the sky, might have been a story in the past. Okay. The article goes on about Belarus very must be in a Russian orbit. I won't go into that either. It just totally is. It's just another part of Russia and it's totally controlled by them. So therefore, it's very much in character for a Belarusian official to go on about this. So yay for Belarus being Russia's bitch. Okay. Do we remember TikTok? What even is going on there? Are they selling it? Aren't they selling it? So that was based in controversy as well. There was loads of weather apps, and these weather apps asking for precision location intelligence purposes. There was one called Weather Channel app, and that took data without consent. There's a ToeTalk messaging app that was in the UAE that probably definitely maybe was used by the UAE government to spy on users because UAE is strongly known for citizens' rights, right? And then Cam Scanner, that was a document scanning one that was temporarily moved from the Google App Store. But yeah, I don't know about you, but I've had my Apple phone for many years and I've got way too many apps on there and I neither remember what most of them are nor use it. And I would be very surprised if nation states did not have the ability to lurk in them, at least a few of them. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick rundown here of what to look for if you think your apps are spying on you. Unusual data usage, significant increase in data usage. Could be sending stuff in the background. Battery drain, that's just my 3-year-old battery. Performance issues, that's just my 3-year-old phone. But I don't know, sometimes my phone just gets super hot. I don't know whether that's me on Pokemon Go or what it is, but crashing frequently, could be malicious apps as well. Strange messages, odd messages, random characters, could mean spyware's trying to communicate. Look into Pegasus and stuff about that. That's all cool. And actually, when I was researching this, a lot of things come up just saying unusual activity. Well, that's just me on my phone. But logins from unfamiliar locations and stuff like that. Apps requesting excessive permissions. This is one of the biggest ones, actually. Like a weather app asking to see your camera or microphone. Obviously, it might want to see your location, but if it's any of the ones that you think, wow, that's weird, red flags. Pop-ups and ads, of course. Random reboots. That's just my phone being old. But I will tell you now, top tip, a lot of phone spyware, malware, lives in live memory. So if you reboot your phone, that kicks it off and then they have to reinstall it. Maybe they'll get bored. Maybe it's really easy to reinstall it. But that is a good way to look at it. Weird sounds during calls. That's just phoning Dr. Doug. And suspicious files and apps. Okay, so if you suspect anybody is spying on you, review permissions, uninstall suspicious apps. I've got about 30 to uninstall, if not more, and consider using some additional software. So there we go. Lucky I'm a good citizen of the world and have nothing to hide. Peace out, party people. Back to Doug on the island.
Thank you, Aaron. I would pay to have your camera alive so I could follow you around in your many adventures. When people spy on me, all they ever see is the top of my desk where my camera's laying on it. But you, on the other hand, I don't even, I'm not sure if I could even take it.
I paid you not to talk about this, Doug. But thank you.
All right. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how I feel about this. And it has a lot of implications that are kind of weird and science fiction-y and so forth. But an AI synthesis model called Flux can reproduce someone's handwriting. Okay, not mine, I bet, but it can reproduce some people's handwriting. And this author who wrote this story about it was talking about how he had developed a way for the AI Flux to write notes to him from his dead father in his father's handwriting. Now, okay, no, my father didn't write me any notes, nor did Lou, unless you count on notes like pick up more gin on the way home, or that kind of stuff on a Post-it note. But the whole AI dead presence business just is, it seems kind of creepy to me. I mean, maybe it would be helpful to some people's grief or whatever, or interacting with your dead ancestors. I mean, I miss talking to my grandmother. I mean, she's been dead for a long, long time, but I always talk to her. She didn't listen because she was deaf, but she would talk to me mostly, and I would just nod. But I mean, I don't know if I want AI Lou, AI Dad, and AI old Mr. Cat peering at me out of picture frames while I write the news, or worse, talking to me. Like the Harry Potter thing with the pictures that talk. Like my AI dad hanging on the wall saying, "Did you really do your best on that show today, Doug? Did you really? I mean, was that your best work, or did you phone it in? Really?" And Lou going, "How about a martini to start the day off right?" Although that might be okay. Mr. Cat going, which means feed me, mofo, or I puke in your monitor again. I mean, I think we're going to have to deal with this pretty soon. Maybe it's just an ethical dealing. It's not like a legal issue. But, maybe it'll be my daughter's problem someday, since she would have thousands of hours of her father acting like an idiot on video shows to draw from. So she'd have a pretty crazy AI. And, I have a funny feeling my AI disembodied voice will mostly be going, "Martuni, eh? Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere." And then Dad Lou criticizing me for not being able to play that A minor Lydian scale properly, and my father looking at us both disdainfully while Mr. Cat stalks Hallie Cat in the next frame over. If you want me to haunt you, send 15 pounds to MrFufu.com with a self-addressed stamped envelope, and I'll return the 512 floppy disk it takes to basically package my whole personality. They are 5 1/4 inch, though. Sorry. We go for the big ones. Anyway, interesting story. And that is the news. Thank you, Aaron, and I will see you next time on the Security Weekly News.